Hello, everyone. Happy 2020 and welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. I'm Serge. Joining me, I have a Jer.
It's a new year.
An Alex.
Hashtag no haircut.
And a Wheeler.
Inside my skeleton, there's a smaller skeleton.
They're both screaming.
Always.
Reminder, the North 100 is brought to you by you with your support over the Patreon, over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Let's start the new year the way we start every new year episode with the best card you're not playing, and up to date we have Alex. Alex, what is your secret tech?
Where?
What?
Who?
Where?
When?
No, Werebear. There Bear. The card we're talking about is Werebear. It's from Odyssey. 1 and a green gets you a 1/1 druid bear.
Ooh.
It's a druid.
I
Druid
think
tribal.
it may have been errated to be a human as well.
I believe it's a
Seriously?
human bear druid.
Human
that's
bear
so
druid.
cool. Not shapeshifter, though.
No.
No. So 3 relevant creature types. It taps for green. And it has threshold, which means if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it gets +3/+3.
2 mana 4/4.
So this was a long-time classic in like Sorensen, style decks, because like you get through a lot of cantrip spells. It's basically, I mean, it does a reasonable impression of a Tarmogoyf a lot of the time. I like this in my sort of graveyard-based decks just because you're gonna have a bin full of stuff, and you like having mana, so why choose one or the other? So this is good early game and good late game because it's a big donkey and it ramps you a little bit.
It slices, it dices, it kills your opponent.
It also has really great flavor text. He exercises his right to bear arms.
No.
It's an Ursine pun.
He exercises those arms by punching face. And very importantly, I think a lot of people are going to look at this card and dismiss the mana that it adds, because it's appealing to just have a 2 mana 4/4.
Sure.
But when you play this on 2 and you're in I could speak from the tempo point of view, because this card has not been cut yet from Sorensen, which maybe it should have, but no.
Is it nostalgia?
You can't. Like playing this on 2 and then passing, and your opponent's just like, oh, okay.
Nice 2 mana 1/1.
So you got this 1/1 that you can like double counterspell with it. Importantly, going from 2 to 4 opens up like Cryptic Command, Factor Fiction, Venser,
Nightpack Ambusher.
Just like that's a lot of mana to untap with and pass.
Well, it also lets you get into the key tempo 2 spell a turn territory.
Yeah.
Where you cast a threat and leave up counterspell.
Or develop one of your busted 3-drops.
Yeah, you also don't have to like choose between playing something that's strictly a mana source and strictly a donkey, because it's
Why not both?
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk about today's theme. So it's the first North 100 of 2020, and we thought we would look back a year in review of 2019, specifically our top 5 cards of the year. Now,
All right, so you convinced me to wear the glasses, and we're going to talk about 2019 the whole time?
you can take them off.
The same
No,
way
it's
that the
fine.
card sets go.
So, a disclaimer at first. There are a couple of cards that were ridiculously broken. Notably, 3 Fairy, Renin 6, and Oko. So let's just talk about those 3 first. We've made an agreement amongst the 4 of us that none of our lists can include those cards because they're too good. They're just too good. They are auto-includes. If you're in the colors, just play them. Any other thoughts we want to add to that?
If you're not in the colors, just play them.
Splash for them.
Splash for Oko, splash for Ren. I mean, now, because there have been changes to the points list that make playing, say, the lands package a little less free of an inclusion for mid-range decks because of the prevalence of stuff like splashing Renin 6.
What's up?
I know. Stop printing undercosted planeswalkers.
And stop using high loyalty as a defensive mechanism.
Yeah.
Well, let's do an example. Let's bring up Renin 6.
Great.
Sure, we'll start at the top.
So, well, I mean, if we want to start at the top,
Oko.
let's start Oko.
Yeah. So Renin 6 is a 2-mana planeswalker for red and a green.
For some reason.
Enters with 3 loyalty.
For some reason.
But then you can immediately either -1 in the early game to take out something that can deal with it. So it has 2 remaining loyalty and it trades for a card, or it goes up to 4 loyalty. So in most board states, even if you're not developing your side at all, it's going to take them 2 turns to kill it, or 2 cards to
Serge,
kill
what
it.
are its abilities?
So +1 ability, return up to 1 target land from your graveyard to your hand. -1, Ren and 6 deals 1 damage to any target. -7, you get an emblem with instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard have Retrace.
Let's retrace.
Retrace is an ability that you may cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard by paying its mana cost and discarding a land card, which synergizes rather well with its +1 ability.
And getting to, it seems weird to say on an ultimate that is a -7, but this happens more often than you'd think. And honestly, the biggest pull away, like the thing that stops Ren and 6 from alting as much as it could be alting, is that people often just concede after they strip lock you.
Sure.
So the game just ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, in 3 Fairy, Ren and 6, and Oko, which do you think are the best? Let's rank those 3. Of the
Oko,
3
Ren,
most
and
busted,
6 to Fairy.
in 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
1, 2, 3.
So you think Oko is the most powerful
Not
card?
close. Best Planeswalker ever printed.
Best card of
He's
2019?
even got a crown.
I think Ren might be a little bit better given the context of our format, but if I change my tune in 3 months, not shocking, I'd say Oko's the best Planeswalker of all time. But context is a little important when you're a format with Wasteland and Strip.
I think Ren has a higher floor, lower ceiling.
For
and
sure.
Oko's just like
Sure.
living in a
Well, Oko answers
36th
everything.
floor apartment.
Oko comes in with 6 loyalty, which is absurd,
Why?
right? Or it enters with 5 loyalty and just deals with something, anything,
Or
Yeah.
gives you a threat.
or gives you a
So
threat.
just briefly, in case you missed this
Missed the past
ban
3
list
months.
all-star,
Banned in standard, by the way.
1 green,
and-
blue
Okay.
for a Planeswalker with 4 loyalty for some reason. It's +2! Makes a food token. It's +1!
Sure, why not?
Artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with a base power and toughness 3/3. And -5, exchange control target artifact or creature you control with target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less.
Pretty good, not bad.
Yeah.
Above
So
average.
it's really dumb. It's very dumb.
And then we agree that 3 Fairy is actually just fantastic. Let's cover 3 Fairy really quickly. For 1 and a white and a blue, you get a 4 loyalty Planeswalker that also has a static ability. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery.
No.
Which is a back-breaking ability. +1 ability, until your next turn you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Not actually irrelevant a lot. Allows the control player to really goozle people with Wrath, leave their mana up, play its woofa. And -3, just bounce target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand and draw a card.
One of the biggest things too is it's up to 1. So on an empty board, it can still draw you a card if you need, which a lot of people miss.
It's real good in Storm.
Yep.
So this, I mean, it's weird because 3 Fairy feels perhaps a little bit underwhelming in the abilities it offers. It's not sexy. It doesn't do anything flashy.
This isn't
Oh,
sexy.
hang on.
I mean the art.
He's a handsome
I mean,
man.
yeah. he's a-
But that aside, it's backbreaking to play against. It just puts a control deck into turbo mode. I think of the 3 Fairies, the least fun to play against.
Of the 3 fairies?
No, of the 3 Planeswalkers we're talking about.
Yeah, you confused the heck out of me. We're talking about Teferi Time Raveler.
I think Oko.
Like
might
a
be
common
more-
play pattern is Teferi bounces something and then dies, whereas a common play pattern that involves Oko leaving the battlefield doesn't exist.
A lot of these cards, right? Like the exclusion for them isn't just from their power level, but from what their power level does to deck building, card choices, and sapping one of the best parts of our format. Just like a little bit, right? Like I throw around the word homogenizes decks a lot because it's kind of what it does, right? It's like when you get cards like these, cards like Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant and whatnot, they can often just, I mean, the last two are a little more flex, but they start to push out the Werebears of the format, and the Psychotogs, and all that fun stuff.
So the power creep is real.
Power creep is real.
Any
These cards were what made me put Vampire Hexmage back in my decks.
ooh, Yeah,
Legit.
just more answers to Planeswalkers. Well, with that, let's pivot to the main theme today, which is all of us have prepared our own top 5 of 2019 list, and everyone
And by
reaches for their
top
phone.
5, we mean 4 through 8.
Fair. Now, I'm curious about that. I'm curious what criteria you used to make your top 5 list. Jer, why don't we start with you?
Just what I think are the next best.
So you just went
cards.
for power level, pure power level. You looked at every card printed in 2019, you assigned them a points value, and you're like, these are arguably the best cards in the format.
Yeah, and it's pure coincidence that they're all blue.
Now, I went with a
Not biased.
I went with a slightly different approach here. Knowing who's at the table here, knowing I have a Wheeler and a Jer, and figuring that you two would go from a meta and power level perspective, I went for my personal top 5 cards, and my criteria were, does looking at this card excite me? And this is like I look at a card and I'm immediately my brain starts racing of what decks can I put this in? I want to brew. Does this card have a home, and will this card have a home in my decks for years to come? That was where my decisions were made, Alex.
I wrote some stuff on a piece of cardboard, and I'll probably change it before I actually read it.
10 out of 10.
Dark Slugger.
And Wheeler?
all over again.
I have something similar to. It's a little bit of a combination between your method, Jer's method, and admittedly a little bit of Alex. Where I have it's like an oh yeah factor.
Oh
No.
Wait,
Too cool.
which oh yeah?
Oh yeah, like that. Like if I draw it, and not
like,
again
woo!
just pure power level, but just like you draw and you're like, oh, you're so screwed, like that kind of thing. They are powerful, but there's a little bit of play to them, and it requires a specific scenario rather than.
Yeah, sure. Just the elbow drop.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you start us off, Wheeler? Are you going to slow roll? Are you going to go 5 through 1?
Yeah, I'll go 5 through 1.
All right, let's see it.
So my number 5, I had an honorary mention too. If that's cheating,
Well,
I
we're
cannot
doing
do it.
honorables. All right.
Oh God, I have so
we
many.
don't have to.
I'll do an honorable too. It's fine.
It's just Clamor Shaman.
What?
It's
Pardon?
just Clamor Shaman.
You're gonna have to tell us what is a Clamor
So Clamor
Shaman, and how
Shaman's-
is this your 6th best card of 2019?
Well, it's not my 6th best.
But that's what this is. This is your top cards.
Yeah, top cards of like oh yeah factor.
It's the 6th best red uncommon from
So-
Ravnica.
So Clamor Shaman is 2 in a red for a 1/1 Goblin Shaman with Riot. Riot meaning that it can enter the battlefield either with a 1/1 counter or with haste. And it says when it attacks, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. I played a good amount of goblins this year, which
Okay.
is a weird statement for me to say.
Little goblin,
And this
big
card
noise.
is shockingly backbreaking. I think one of the cards that newer goblins players or players that haven't died a fiery death to this deck look over is Frenzied Goblin.
That card is way better than you think it
Oh
is.
yeah, it's a 1-drop. For those not familiar, it's a 1-mana 1/1 goblin. Whenever it attacks, you pay a red, and target creature can't block.
Yeah.
That removing blockers is absurdly powerful in a swarm deck like goblins, where if you didn't have that ability, someone's probably blocking your 3-mana 1/1 or
Well,
your
it's-
2/2 or whatever.
It's a very unassuming statement because you don't. It's like can't block anything at all.
Which is why it's up here as my honorable. Number 5 beat it out for very similar reasons.
All right. Number 5.
Number 5 is my queen, Judith, the Scourge Diva.
Yup.
So Judith is 1 red and a black for a 2/2 legendary shaman, also a human. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a non-creature token you control dies, Judith deals 1 damage to any target.
Non-token creature.
Non-token.
Non-token
Non-token
creature,
is
yes,
very
non-token, but
important.
it includes. Did I say creature token?
You said non-creature token.
Oh, I see. Smart. Non-token creature. So that includes Judith.
Yeah.
This I've probably died to this card more than most other things this year, except for maybe like Price of Progress.
Now, are
or
you looking
Collector
at
Oof.
like Judith in Aristocrats or just value Judith in
Judith and
aggro?
Aristocrats, Judith and Goblins.
Yeah.
Those are the two big decks that can take advantage of it. Both decks with sack outlets. Both
So Judith
decks,
the honorary goblin.
yeah, both decks that can take advantage of the Anthem effect and that will chip away, right? She's got kind of this Goblin Bombardment ability attached to her. The fact that she's a legend is obvious. You do what you want to do.
Caracas.
But even if they shock it, it's fine. You get at least one ping.
Sure.
Yeah, this card. Similar to, I mean, not similar to Clamor Shaman, but both in this like, oh, this card actually just kills me. My number 4 is Yawgmoth Thran Physician. 2 black for a 2/4
Human legendary advisor?
cleric. I think it's a cleric.
Is it a cleric?
I believe it's a cleric.
Doctor, tell me the news.
Protection from humans.
Yeah, it's got protection from humans.
We'll just wait for James to bring it up. Advisor
just hates
or
people.
cleric? Advisor or cleric?
It's a cleric.
think it's
I believe it's cleric.
No!
Hey! So 2 black for a 2/4 legendary human cleric. Protection from humans. Very relevant.
Yeah.
Shockingly relevant.
But no, we don't count as humans in
No.
the game, so it's not protection from
Demon.
players.
Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and draw a card. You can devastate boards with this, not needing mana, just sacking other creatures. This one lets you sacrifice creature tokens, cash them in to kill your opponent's hate bears, their mana dorks, draw some cards, as well as just being a sack outlet that you're not necessarily playing because it's a sack outlet, because you can't slap a Pattern of Rebirth on itself for the Pattern Hulk shenanigans, but you'll play it anyways. And then it also just has black, discard a card, proliferate, which plays into the fair plan of a lot of these decks pretty well. Like the counters deck, if you have a bunch of counters, great. You get to do a bunch more damage. If you're playing something like, again, Pattern Rector, the amount of cards in that deck that just have 1/1 counters on them, or the amount of times you might tap a Gavany Township to kill people. This card races very quickly.
It also likely kills your opponent with Jarl's Messenger.
Yes. That part's quite good as well.
Yeah.
My number 3... It's going to be another black card. Oh my god, I have no, spoiler alert, I have no green or white cards on here.
Interesting.
Weird.
So Wheeler's number 3.
Bolus's Citadel.
Yeah, that has
It
Wheeler
tracks.
written all over it.
So
What's that one do?
Bolus's Citadel is 3 black for a legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library. If it's a spell being cast this way, you pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than paying the mana cost. And then it has tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life.
Now, this is a card that shows up in a lot of lists, that shows up in a lot of cubes, and is almost always unplayable. In that it's very hard to cast.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in... Well, Dark Ritual makes it easier to cast.
Sure.
Black Lotus makes it easier to cast.
All right.
Cabal Ritual.
Cabal
Forget
Ritual.
about it.
Basically, you'll want to play this card... If you're playing it in Canlander,
Yeah.
you'll want to play this card alongside Rituals, because they tend to work out quite well with adding mana to your mana pool and then say, oh, it's a tutor off top that I get to
Wow.
cast for free. Wow. And then being an artifact is pretty relevant, especially with a decrease in points for Tinker. Tinkering into this can lead to some pretty heinous plays on your end of the table. I think we kind of gushed about that. I at least gushed about this card when it came out.
Yeah.
And it's not as like, this card is busted, give it a point immediately. As some people thought it would be.
Well, they say that about literally everything.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
been-
that's
But,
just
that's what I
discussion
thought. This
around it.
card had so much hype when it first came out. You're like, this is going to blow open Storm. It's going to point everything. Academy decks. You're like, watch out. And now you're like, oh yeah, it's Bolas' Citadel. It costs. It's actually very fairly costed.
There is a cost to it, right? But if you can get to that cost, Card's great.
And it made your top 5 remarkable.
Yeah, people just don't like paying costs.
This surprised me. The fact that this is one of your top 5 cards of the year actually surprises me.
This is going to surprise me as my number 2, which should, in a year where I have famously not enjoyed playing with an extra 40 plus planeswalkers, it's weird that my number 2 is a planeswalker.
Go on.
Saheeli Sublime Artificer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Saheeli's a card that has really grown on me and has done, again, this is an oh yeah moment of when you start to find new ways to just demolish your opponent with this card, be it when it started out and you're just like, oh, okay, eggs, or like Academy. Yeah, that makes sense because it makes a bunch of dorks. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll just copy my Black Lotus. I guess I'll just copy my Aether Flux Reservoir, which, for those of you not familiar, it will double up. It's a 4-mana artifact. Every time you cast a spell on your turn, you gain life equal to the amount... every time it's either turn. Either turn. You gain life equal to the number of spells cast this turn. And then you can pay 50 life, deal 50 damage to any target. Having 2 of them in play makes that real quick.
Good.
It's real quick.
Huh.
And then this card started seeping into Blue Moon decks and Is It Tempo decks.
Oh, just as a little bit of passive value, eh?
Yeah, you just drop this on 3. It's like a young Pyromancer effect, right?
But like a little bit more resilient.
And it also can copy, say you have some tokens and it's late in the game and you draw this Crackling Drake and you're like, oh, I wish this had haste. Well, you're in luck. Just copy one of your token cards and hit your opponent for 20. Yeah, she is lovely. She's fantastic. It has definitely exceeded expectations.
And your number 1 card
Is
of
it blue?
2019.
It's blue.
Is it a legendary creature?
No, shockingly, it's not. I tried to again avoid cards that were just like, oh, okay, you're pretty good. Although this one is more in that category than I am, and it's another 3-mana planeswalker.
Okay.
Narset.
Mu Yanling.
Oh, I was really close. I was so close to
Mu
putting
Yanling. What is it?
I love
Sky
this.
Dancer.
I love
This card is
Sky Dancer.
really cool.
I forget what the second part of its name is because I just scream Mu Yanling
like,
every time I play her.
She's here.
It's so Mu is 1 blue, 2 loyalty, +2 until your next turn. Up to 1 target creature gets -2, -0, and loses flying. -3, you make a 4/4 blue elemental bird token with flying. -8, you get an emblem with that says islands you control have tap, draw a card.
Okay.
This is another planeswalker where just everything about it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the +2 is absolutely backbreaking at preventing your opponent from doing anything to Mu. Forces them to overextend into your counterspells, your creature removal, whatever it may be. Removes their blockers, their pesky flyers, so that your flyers can kill them or their planeswalkers. Makes a flyer herself, which is the least exciting ability on this card. Probably the one not the one I use the least because, I mean, the ultimate.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the ultimate. And does it very efficiently. You can just play her, tick her up, next turn, make a 4/4. Great. And then the -8, which is relevant because, again, she's so good at stopping herself from dying and stopping you from dying. Chances are you'll get to her.
Yeah.
Ultimate. And when you do, it's absurd. You just win. I mean, that's a lot of ultimates. I shouldn't say just win, but it's one of those deaths where like your opponent doesn't know they're dead, right? Like the game's already over.
They don't?
I mean, sometimes it's one of those alts where you'll ult and people are like, all right, I can get out of this. And it's like,
Well,
I don't know about
Help me
that.
out. Which? Oh my
Cough of
goodness.
the Hammer?
No. There's a white-blue planeswalker that every time you cast a spell, exile a permanent.
Oh,
There's-
Venser,
Venser.
the Sojourner.
That feels like a similar alt where you're like, oh, that's not too bad, and then you're just like, oh,
Or Teferi alt.
yeah, oh, I'm actually just
except-
super dead.
Serge, this doesn't need mana or cards.
Most people, unless it's like a Garrick ultimate of like, creature's big now, smash.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I can if
Yeah,
I draw
like-
this into
they're like,
this
"There's
into
a
this,
line." Yeah.
and then if a satellite falls from the sky and crushes,
Maybe my opponent just has a heart attack, right?
yeah, Moo is just
So I'm gonna be honest. You surprised me. You surprised me.
I'm shocked at one of your omissions.
Well,
Yeah.
we can talk about that after.
It's on my
Sure.
list.
So, Alex, tell me, what are your top 5 cards of the year? Give us a slow roll.
I'm gonna read them in no order.
No order. All right.
I love it.
Let's
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
It's
Rotting Regisaur.
Rotting Regisaur.
The classic buh.
It's the biggest-
classic.
It's
I
the
may have
biggest
skipped
donkey.
putting that on my list because I didn't want people to do buff, but you go get yours.
Yeah. This
got
card's
it.
so cool.
2 and a black for a zombie dinosaur. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card. There's supposed to be other text after this, but there's isn't. It's a 7/6.
Now that's a zombie.
Chonky boy.
What else do you have to say?
Big lad.
so
Okay, but
big.
it's so big, and there's virtually no downside. Ordinarily, cards like this have a clause. Like this is the.
It's like if you don't discard, sack
this
it or
is the
something.
Masticore thing, where it's like, upkeep, pitch a card, or it dies, and you're just like, oh, I hope I can keep my Masticore. This is like, pitch a card, and if you can't,
Shrug.
Great.
that's great. Once you pop, that's great. It actually in Black Mold, which is where most of the cards I'm going to be talking about have a home. It actually can almost synergize with a lot of the like graveyard creatures. It's like you want to cast this and then pitch your Bloodghast and then play a land.
Where you like pitch Vengevine, then cast 2 creatures.
Yeah, and then they're
then
just
get a
like,
Vengevine.
This card, there's a lot of Magic cards nowadays that if you went back in time and showed, a player from 1995 or whatever, they would be like, there's no way this ever exists. But I think this would be the most, I don't know why, but this one to me is the most like plays to that old school feel. Of just like, it's just a big dumb with a drawback, but it's so big and the drawback is just like
so
not.
small, yeah.
Yeah.
it smashes face. Hex Drinker, which is a small dumb. They brought
Yeah, dude, super tiny.
for
Never
now.
gets threatening at all.
Is a seed a tree? Anyway, it's single green for a 2/1. Great, I'm already playing it. But they brought back the level up mechanic. Levels up for colorless, just 1. That's it. You can sink mana into it anytime you want. Well, not anytime you want, but like on your turn, because you can only level up as a sorcery. But it will eat any kind of mana. Levels 3 to 7, it becomes a 4/4 with protection from instants. And at level 8+, it's a 6/6 with protection from everything.
This card is so dumb.
I love it. It also even has cool art.
It's also a mini.
It's just like, it's a really good aggressive green creature that can maybe win the game on its own if you don't have anything else. But you will have other things.
It most certainly can just
Turn 1 Hex Drinker, if your board has any mana at all, is very, very scary.
anytime you have a 1-drop or like a low drop creature where if you have it on turn 1 or turn 10, it's good on both times. Like arguably this card is just better on turn 10.
I actually think the best time to play this is turn 4 after your opponent's just tapped out for something, and then you're like, play this. It has pro instance. If you don't kill it on your turn, you're dead.
Having in, I forget what league, it was one of the leagues where I was playing blue-green, but I got to mana drain a treasure cruise, untap, play Hex Drinker, and then just like, I have 8 colorless mana.
Okay.
What to do with this? What to do?
What to do, indeed.
My God.
Stone Coil Serpent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Alex, your list. It's so good.
So many snakes.
It's just, it's all snakes the whole way down. It's an artifact, costs X. It's a 0/0. It comes into play with X +1/+1 counters on it. It has reach and trample and protection from multicolored. it's just like too many abilities stapled to a body that you can cast at any point in the game and is always going to be good. It has a little bit in common with Hex Drinker, where it's just like you're pretty happy to cast this like, turn 2 or turn 18, where it's either just like, oh, I'll aggress with this thing, or just be like, hey, I drew too many lands and flooded out. Here's a big idiot. I mean, you're even sometimes maybe not even having a problem casting this at 1, just to get the reach to block big things that are going to kill you. It's like, this will buy you a turn against Marlage.
Yeah.
Not that that's likely to happen, but it could happen.
Desperate times.
Yeah. Here's one that, I mean, I don't know if it would be unexpected. Crowl Harpooner.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of dealing with flyers, this card just keeps coming up, and I keep being happy to see it, and I keep casting Green Sun Zenith to get it.
Yeah.
It's 1 and a green for a 3/2 with reach, which is
Insect
already...
Warrior.
Yeah, it has the warrior subtype.
Great
to
with
play.
Najila.
Yeah. And it has Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target creature with flying you don't control. Crowl Harpooner gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Then you may have it fight that creature. So, yeah, it just shoots down flyers, and you can Green Sun into it, which is really great. And even if you never encountered that situation in the whole game, it's a 3/2 with reach for 1 and a green. Get 'em. Yeah, let's throw one more 1-drop on here. Knight of the Ebon Legion.
Oh, yeah. God, your list is so cool.
Well, it's all cards that I'm playing, so
Well, yeah. Hell yeah.
I like them. This is a single black for a 1/2 Vampire Knight. You can pump it for 2 and a black. It gets +3/+3 and Death Touch until end of turn. And at the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on him. Notably, that counts... I only just realized that that counts you.
Yep. If they hit you, they grow your own knight.
Or if you like
If you
that
can't...
shock
yeah.
Thoughtseize.
Well,
Dismember.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking more like Snuff Out.
Yeah.
That's exactly on. It's he just gets bigger. It's it's another one of these like small lads that gets to be a big lad, a glad lad. Just get him.
So, you know what's remarkable
What?
is we're 10 cards in.
Yeah.
We haven't had a single duplicate.
Yeah.
And my 5 cards don't overlap with any of your 5 cards.
Awesome. I did
Neither
have
do mine.
I did have an honorary mention just because it's like
Sure.
not actually that like it's Prismatic Vista just because that card
Yeah.
is that card spanks.
Yeah. Very
It's
cool.
Might be the best card for our format printed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's just
remarkable.
It's really ubiquitous. It's not overpowered, but it's just like good as heck.
All right, I want to talk about my top 5 favorite cards of 2019. And I'm going to start off with Growth Spiral. So this was a card that I looked at, and I was just like, oh yeah. So a green and a blue gets you an instant that says draw card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It's just so elegant. Like, this card is just chef kiss, right?
And the art is really good.
And the art is also
Seth
fantastic.
McKinnon's been killing it this year.
I don't know why. If you told me it's like, hey Serge, one of your favorite cards from the year is just going to be a slightly better Explorer, I'd be like, okay. But the amount of flexibility it gives you, ramp, keep your mana open, it fits in quite a few archetypes, which is fascinating as well. Outside of just, Explorer's very narrow. You're like Scape Shift, barely even in a lands deck.
I
But
would say that this is maybe like substantially better than Explorer, because Explorer is just like you may play an additional land. This one just like zoop,
yeah,
stick it into play.
the surprise
Well,
potential.
and
Of traders.
It can affect how your opponent's going to play too. Like if they're an aggro deck, they're like, oh, I'm not going to get Wrath next turn. My control opponent's only on 2 mana. You can be like, well, Growth Spiral, put in land, untap,
Untap.
play land, Wrath you.
You can also do weird stuff like Flash and Caracas, bounce one of their creatures. Their lands are so powerful in our format that the ability to hold back information if you're worried about certain effects is...
Growth Spiral Wasteland in response to them trying to copy Dark Depths. Get them.
It's very 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 elegant and is, I think, one of the top cards of the last year. Next up, Arclight Phoenix. So Arclight Phoenix is a 4-mana 3/2 Phoenix Kaka. Has flying and haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast 3 or more instant or sorcery spells, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. Now, I don't believe this card has made as much of a splash in our format as, say, in Standard or some of the other constructed formats.
There's like 4 of in every deck.
Modern.
Pioneer. Yeah, this card
Legacy.
is just so cool. It's so cool. And an interesting theme in a lot of decks that I've played are, I want to be busy. I want to have really cool payoffs of stuff I do. I want to feel like I'm doing stuff. And Arclight Phoenix is the type of card that rewards the kind of Magic that I want to play, which is get a bunch of pieces moving, get an engine working, and at the end have a payoff for it. And while, again, in our format, just 1 3/2 flyer after all that work isn't as sexy as having maybe 2 or 3 come out, this card, I want more Magic like this.
Technically, this is a 2018 card, but I want to get this in before chat gets to you about this, because this card only really picked up in 2019.
I got that wrong?
The first Ravnica set was 2018.
No! I Googled everything.
But, again, in your defense, people slept on this card.
That's true. They didn't really play it until 2019, so...
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
How embarrassing.
Why did it take a couple of months into a whole nother year for people to realize, hey, maybe I should just play Careful Study in my blue-red deck? Who knows? But
Well, that's embarrassing.
All right, well,
hey, don't worry about it.
Next up, a card I know is from 2019, Murderous Rider.
It'd be really funny if you said a card from like 2017.
Coiling Oracle. Yeah, just best card of 2019.
Now, this is a sleeper hit. Negate.
Yeah.
oh, yes, you got the showcase art.
Yeah. So
art's
Murderous
so
Rider, 3 mana, but does a couple different things. So it's an adventure card. So there's a card called Swift End, 1 black, instant adventure, destroy target creature or planeswalker, lose 2 life. Then it goes into the adventure zone, which is like the exile zone, but funner to say. And then for 3 mana, 1 black, you can cast it as a creature. It enters as a 2/3 with lifelink, and when it dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. I love all of the adventures, and I knew absolutely I had to put one in on my list of 2019 best cards, and it was tough. It was this or Brazen Borrower were probably tied for the ones I look at, but I think at the end of the day, I'm going to play more Murderous Rider than Brazen Borrower. This card just does so much, and as we talk about how dominant planeswalkers have been and how increasingly powerful they are, the fact that this kills them is what sort of tipped the scales there.
Well, it's also, you can hedge rather than playing something like, what's the one that's...
Heroes Downfall.
Heroes Downfall, yeah. You get to play a threat and removal, or both.
Yeah, and while it's not the greatest card against like combo or control if they don't happen to have a planeswalker at the time, at least it lets you do something.
Yeah.
Like the worst thing in the world is when you're playing against combos, just like having Flame Tongue Kavu and
Yeah.
cards that are literally stone useless stuck in your hand.
Can we talk about how phenomenal Adventure has been as a mechanic?
Amazing mechanic.
Like, it's I thought cycling would have been the kind of... I mean, Adventure's harder. You won't make Adventure evergreen. Like, it's just...
No.
It's way too thematically tied.
Yeah.
But, like, that kind of effect where just, like... At any time, any of these adventure cards, like, it opens up what you can do. You don't feel bad no matter the matchup. It's just like, that's what you want from...
I just want to play Magic
Yeah, I
cards.
just want to please let me play
We
Magic
talked
cards.
about how powerful modal spells are in our format. The
Like
flexibility.
a fuse spell almost.
Well, what's fascinating about adventure cards is it is a modular card that you get to cast twice. In most modal cards, you get to pick the best mode situation that's there. Oftentimes with adventure cards, you get a 1-2 punch out of it. And that's when we talk about how important card advantage is in the format. adventure is it's remarkable card advantage.
I really like this card in Black Mold, obviously because it's
Yeah.
good. It's also another creature with lifelink, which I've been like adding more of, because that deck used to be leveraging its life total a lot more than it is now, and it's just like you can't do that as much with mono red around. Like you can do it a little bit, but you have to have at least an option there to like regain life, and otherwise you're just gonna fold.
So before I give my number 1 card, I'm going to do an honorable mention from 2019. So my top 5 actually includes cards from 2019.
This will be his 2016 card.
Yeah.
Fallen Shinobi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Fallen Shinobi, I think it is backbreaking. I don't think I was actually playing this card until Jer mentioned it as a best card you're not playing. And now it's all I want to jam. I just want to jam ninjas forever. Like, I'm sorry, Sensei, but I must go all out this one time. It's like all in on Shinobis. Let's go. So this is a 5 mana, 5/4 zombie ninja for 3, a blue and a black. Has ninjutsu for 4, a 2, a blue and a black. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. And until the end of turn, you can just play them for free. You're just like,
Okay.
why? So this card's incredible. It's rather straightforward in what you want to do. You just want to smash people with it, but I love this card. But the number 1 card of 2019 for me is Embercleave.
What?
Yeah, Embercleave.
That card is sick.
Embercleave is a 6 mana legendary artifact equipment for 4 red. It has flash. It costs 1 less for each attacking creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control. An equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample, and also equips for 3.
Huh.
When I look at a card and I just want to find a home for it, when I look at a card and my mind starts racing and I start thinking of how many homes a card can have, it also fits into decks that I love that have traditionally struggled in finishing games. And Embercleave ends games.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think, again, it fits into a space of cards that I want to see more of. It's so cool, and it makes you feel powerful when you play it. You're just like, I'm attacking for 4 creatures, a couple of 2/2s, my Hovermere's flying in. It's like, what am I going to do? And it's like,
He just had to, didn't he?
And then suddenly Embercleave comes down, and it's like, where is your god now? Like, it's yeah. And it gives you that final little bit of reach to end a game as an aggressive deck, where there's that turning point where your opponent, if they're on mid-range or something like that, they might be able to stabilize, and this will just push through that last point or 2 of damage to end a game.
Pointer to 16. Who's counting?
It's like very difficult. I mean, it's already difficult to play around everything in this format. You just can't do it. There's too much variance. But like, Embercleave is already just like frustrating to play around in like a 60 card format
When
where
you know they have 4.
You know they have it. That's why they're playing it. But in this, like, Jesus, you should try putting an Embercleave on a Fallen Shinobi. That's my challenge for you for 2020.
Deal.
Okay.
Challenge accepted.
If you can hit
This Friday, I'm showing up with ninjas.
Rixus ninjas.
Ninja Cleave.
If
We need to workshop the name.
If you can hit somebody with a Fallen Shinobi and an Embercleave in 2020,
Yeah.
I will take back everything bad I've ever said about Hovermere.
Ben, no.
Oh!
Deal.
But okay.
Deal. All right, deal. I need to start brewing. Jer, while my mind races on things in the future, tell us about 2019.
All right. I really liked all your lists.
Okay.
Conveniently, they omitted the top 5 cards from 2019, so that makes my list great.
All right.
I'll start off with an honorable mention. I had a toss-up between 2, and I'm going to go with Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah. Really strong
As
card.
mentioned,
That's not blue.
yeah, that's why it's an honorable mention and not the top 5.
I mean,
My other honorable mention was also blue, but I thought somebody else was going to say
this card's more blue than you'd think.
Yeah, this card's really, really good.
What does it do?
It's a 2-for-1 every time. It's 2 and a red for a 4/3 if you want the Bone Crusher Giant half. It also has Stomp, which is 1 and a red instant, and it goes on an adventure. Damage can't be prevented this turn, that line of text. People are going to ignore it. Don't. It's really good. Won me the biggest tournament I won of the year. and it deals 2 damage to any target. Kills your opponent's true name nemesis if they're blocking. Whenever Bone Crusher Giant becomes the target of a spell, it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. It is symmetrical, so if you target your own Bone Crusher with the spell, you are going to
Sure, if you want to put like
2,
Rancor on it or something.
or Berserk it. You know?
Sure.
Worth it.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, this card's great. It's being played in basically every red deck. I wasn't sure you'd play it in control decks. You should. It's that good. You're just gonna get 2 cards worth of value out of it basically every time. Now on to the top 5 blue cards of 2019. Number 5, we have Brazen Borrower, sticking with the adventure theme.
Yeah.
We have, it's another adventure card, 1 blue for a 3/1 flash flyer. It can only block creatures with flying.
Not really a downside.
Yeah, you're not really blocking much anyways. So it fits into like that Vendilion Clique, Nimble Obstructionist sort of niche. But the petty theft side makes it maybe the best one. I think it's maybe on par with Clique for the best one. Might be better.
I'm shocked that this is only your number 5, because this was going to be my number 1 until I was like, this card's just way too good.
Yeah. Well, I think my other 4 cards are also quite good. Yeah,
I have an idea of what they are, and yeah, I think they're also.
And Petty Theft is an instant adventure. Return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. It's becoming harder and harder to include these sort of like catch-all answers just because they typically are overcosted or just like doesn't actually answer the problem. But when it's attached to a card that's just so eminently playable on its own, like both halves, it's hard to describe just how good and versatile this card is, and I feel like I'm not going to do it justice. Even saying I'm not going to do it justice isn't doing it justice. So it's good. Play it.
The feel bads. So like when Dominaria came out, we got Blink of an Eye, right? A second version of Into the Royal.
Yeah.
People were stoked, and then now it's like those cards you can't really afford to include either of them. Like you can in certain archetypes, but then just like this card is just like you never feel bad about, but you felt kind of bad about always just like casting the Blink or the Into the Royal for 2, right? You always want to draw that card.
Yeah.
But like this, you get that cake and you get to eat it, and then you don't have to pay for the meal.
And you get to
sort of
take
thing.
away their cake.
Yeah. You eat their cake and then make them pay for it.
Yeah. Coming in at number 4, we have a card that I was kind of down on at first. Force of Negation. I wasn't certain how good this card would be. I thought the non-creature clause would make it kind of awkward. I did like that you didn't need to pay a life. I thought, having it be a pitch counterspell that was too conditional might make it bad. It's not. It's really good. It turns out our format can be pretty degenerate sometimes. Your opponent will often try to cast a Mana Crypt on their turn 1, and you may want to counter it, and using your only free counter spell, often in Force of Will, to counter it kind of feels bad. Like if they just like play a 2-drop, you might die. But having access to a second free counter spell, the Exile clause has been huge many times. I'm sure Ben will tell you how many times he's tried to bait a spell with Recursion in hand and then died because they Force of Negationed it, and he's staring at his Exile zone and he's like, this card's so stupid. Why did they print it? Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so pretty simple card, kind of redundant, but really good. Also, the fact that you can just hard cast this for a reasonable cost in the matchups where you want Force of Will type cards, it's almost better. Like against the combo and control decks.
Nice life from the womb.
So yeah. And then coming in at number 3, we have my pick for maybe the most underrated card of the year. It's the same mana cost as Growth Spiral, Surge's first card. It's blue-green. It's Neoform.
Yeah.
Sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, you sack a creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card on the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, then shuffle your library. Notably, it doesn't say +1 or less. You have to get the exact cost.
Sure.
That's not really a downside. It's a great fair toolboxy card. It's a great combo card, and Spellseeker. It's a magic card. You should be playing it. It's really good with Spellseeker. Both getting Spellseeker getting it, casting it, sacrificing your Spellseeker, casting it, finding your Spellseeker. Yes?
But, I mean, I see where you're going with this, but if you find an Archaeomancer off your Spellseeker, surely you can't return the Neoform because it exiles itself.
And unlike Eldritch Evolution, it doesn't exile itself, so you can go all the way up to 5.
Oh, no!
And then you can get back your Karmic Guide, which gets back your Archaeomancer, which gets back your... Yeah, and then, yeah. This has been responsible for probably the most losses I've taken this year.
Might be the most winningest card, like one of the most winningest cards of the year.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the least blue card on my list, but it's still blue, so it counts. Even though it feels a little more green. Good card. Up next is a card I'm absolutely shocked that Ben didn't have on his list. It's a legendary creature.
Old man, take a look at
Urza,
my life.
Lord High Artificer.
That surprised me, actually.
It's a 2 blue for a legendary creature, human artificer. 1/4, 4th toughness, real good. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue mana. Oh great, it's Urza's ability. Doesn't require summoning. You can use it with summoning sick artifacts. 5 and tap, shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. I love Mind's Desire, who doesn't?
Oh, you don't have to tap him to activate this.
Nope.
Nope.
So this card does literally everything. It kills your opponent with damage. It makes 8 bajillion mana. Goes infinite with Thopter Sword. Goes infinite with Paradox Engine 18 different ways. Is card advantage in the late game. Is a mana sink. Blocks.
Basically everything. Just blocks everything. Why is
Yep.
it a 1/4?
Great.
All right, good talk.
Yeah. I'm sure Ben has more words to say on this card, but yeah, it's good.
It's a problem of it. It's a certainly a privilege problem to be like, oh god, because like you lose the luster of like. So I had this Academy kill, and then you explain it for 5 minutes, and it's like, and then I still lost, but it was close. And instead, you're just like, yeah, I played Urza on turn 3, and they died. It's just like, all right, great.
Yep.
Thanks, old man.
Do any of you have a guess what my number 1 card is?
Is it a land?
Yeah, Ben knows what it
Is
is.
it Mystic Sanctuary?
Yeah, it's Mystic Sanctuary.
Huh.
It's the most egregious card they've printed this year.
I hate to tell you this,
outside
Jared,
of the other
but
three.
technically that's colorless.
Yeah, Serge, get off it. Yeah, technically colorless only makes blue mana.
If I can be actually that one of
It's-
my best cards 2018.
No.
It's an island. At least this card's from 2019.
Comparable.
And like, look at the colors in the art and on the card. What colors are they, Serge?
I see some purples
God.
and some greens.
You're the worst.
Yeah, Mystic Sanctuary. It's a land island. Mm-hmm. Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more islands.
That's tough.
When it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target Ancestral Recall or Time Walk from your graveyard on top of your library, or any other instant or sorcery if you
Amazing.
want to do that for some reason. So this card may seem innocuous at first, but the cost of putting a land into your deck is pretty low. You're gonna want some of those anyways. It's an island, so it's fetchable. So you can
fetcher this.
you can slow roll one of those blue fetch lands. And since this card got printed, I've ingrained into myself to not play blue fetches whenever possible.
Yeah.
Which is something you all should do too. You want to play a bunch of islands, so you want to be base blue, so it's just actively helping you in the deck building phase of the game. It goes infinite with a bunch of different things.
So many things.
So many things.
Suddenly makes Maloku so much more playable.
Yeah, you get to play Maloku again.
More playable?
More
It's
playable.
great. Venser the Sojourner. It's great. And even just as a value card, because once again, the cost of putting in your deck is so low that if you draw a tap land at some point, people are going to play tap lands. Like, you take out the Lumbering Falls in your deck, you put in Mystic Sanctuary.
I want to make a quick comment for this because I can't believe it took me so long to try it, and I was inspired by Modern to try it. But I don't actually think you need that. Like, I don't even know if you need to cut your Lumbering Falls-ish cards. I started playing this in Eggs, which is a deck that has like 30 unique lands, and getting up to 3 islands and even a multicolor deck like that is blue-based is pretty easy. And being able to loop this card with Second Sunrise kind of abilities, extremely gross.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, we're running low on time.
All right. Awesome.
I'm curious if anyone has any other resolutions for 2020. Mine apparently is to kill Ben with Fallen Shinobi
Anyone.
equipped with an Ember Cleave. No. Ben.
Whoa, okay. Like,
Yeah. Anyone else have any specific goals that they want to see in the format in 2020?
I'd like to play Highlander.
You're just like, I miss Magic. That's fair.
Oh, wait, I get to do that this Friday.
Yeah.
I want to play more... Oh, God, I came into this so strong, Ben, you idiot.
You're committed.
More non-blue. I've been really enjoying playing, like, donkey decks.
Yes, good.
Like, just like it feels weird, and like I'd be like
Let
rotting
the fair
rotting Reggie
through you.
and just like
Whoa.
oh God, and like Judith and oh man,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's
Good. And Jer, any goals for 2020?
More blue for me.
All right, let's go to our closing segment today. Powerful Magic. The first Powerful Magic of 2020. And up today, we have Wheeler.
this. You know, it's a good one when I can't even remember the full name of one of the cards that I absolutely demolished someone with.
All right.
On New Year's Eve, I did something called New Year's Meme, where I just played decks that people had submitted to me on stream that I said there's no way in hell I'm playing this, and then fine, I'll play it. And one of the decks was Mere Tribal. So let's pull, if I can get Mere Galvanizer up, just to give an idea.
You
so
maniac.
Mere's a creature type that you might be familiar with from the Mirrodin sets. They are almost all bad.
How many mirrors are there?
37, I think.
Palladium
but
Mirror's kinda
not-
legit.
Yeah, Palladium Mirror's pretty good. I played Hover Mirror in this deck, and as I know I said I'm going to be nicer about it if you win, but honestly it was the worst mirror I played, and I played literal 1-mana 1/1s with irrelevant text. I played a 1-mana 1/1 that taps to shuffle your opponent's library.
First of all, how dare you?
So I'm against Elliot of the Spike Feeders. We're playing a game. Shout out to other Canadian content creators there. And Elliot's playing Medium Red, which is a very powerful deck. And one that you would assume Mere Tribal would get absolutely smashed by. But that's where you're wrong, Kaiba, because we're up a game already, and we're in game 2. And my hand is looking pretty gas, albeit a bit slow. I have some generic mana-producing mirror in my hand. And in order to get enough mirror, I have to play some cloning effects. So basically anything that can copy an artifact or a creature for a reasonable cost. One of these is Quasi-Duplicate.
Yeah.
Another card that, honestly, I'd like to play more of in 2020.
sick.
But that's blue.
1 blue. You create a token that's a copy of a creature you control, and it has Jumpstart, so you can recast it from your graveyard by pitching something. I get out an early... I mulligan to 5 as well. I mulligan to 5 in this matchup. Elliot plays... He, kills the thing on 2, plays a Goblin Rabble Master into a a rampaging like Ferocidon, and a Scab Clan Berserker. So basically red creatures that deal a lot of damage that you don't want to see. However, I've spent my turn developing a Tempered Steel, which is an artifact creature anthem. 3 mana. Artifact creatures get +2/+2. And I had cast a Master's Call, which it's a 3 mana spell that makes
instant.
It's an instant, makes 2 1/1 mirror tokens. So I'm kind of like holding down the fort with these things, and I get enough mana to play a Mirror Enforcer, which is a 7 mana affinity
4/4?
for artifacts 4/4.
Yeah, 7 mana 4/4.
I paid a lot of retail for this card.
Somehow.
And I managed to actually quasi-duplicate it. So now I have another Mirror Enforcer that's a 4/4. But
6/6.
a 6/6 now because of the Tempered Steel. So my board's not bad, but I'm at very low life. And I draw my card, and I'm kind of like turboing through this. I'm not thinking as much as I should have, admittedly. I got distracted by the mirror. And I drew a Mishra's Workshop. And I play my Workshop, and I think to myself, oh, Ben, you idiot. Like, you could have kept that to make another mirror token with the quasi-duplicate. Yeah. And I think I had another token from an Origin Spell Bomb earlier. It's a spell bomb that makes a mirror token. There's all these really bad cards that make mirror tokens. So you just have to understand this before we move forward. Mm-hmm. So my board is like a Mirror Enforcer, a Mirror Enforcer token, and a bunch of small tokens. But if I attack, I don't have lethal here, and I die on the crackback.
Sure.
It's not, and I'm at very low life. So I play at this workshop. I kind of go, oh, I can't believe it. Like, I should have held this so I could quasi-duplicate, because surely I won't need like a 7 mana artifact spell. So I pass back. Elliot does a thing. I think kills one of my tokens somehow, and then I draw. And I draw a card that was kind of a stipulation for making this, because it's not actually a mirror. It's called Brudiclad something engineer, Brudicl.
I was hoping you were going to rip
so it's
Battle
a commander. Well, so Brudiclad Telcore Engineer is 4 a blue and a red for a 4/4 artificer.
How many colors is your deck? You have a
It's Jeskai.
Okay.
It kind of looks like a mirror. It says creature tokens you control have haste.
Sure.
At the beginning of your combat on your turn, make a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token.
Oh.
Meaning I made a token. And I just so happen to have a Mirror Enforcer token. So all my dorky little creatures just became 6/6 Mirror Enforcers, turned everything sideways, and got to kill them. For this. Oh, man.
Okay.
And it was medium red. How do you lose that? Sorry, Elliot, not sorry.
Wow.
But,
All right.
yeah, that felt
What a
pretty
start.
good.
I mean, I'll forgive your slight against Hovermere, but so it goes. Really quickly before we wrap up, want to let you know a couple of us are going to be at some conventions, potentially in the area where you are. PAX South in a couple of weeks. I'll be down there with Ben and Heather and Beej. That's Beej's name. So come up and say hi and engage in, I don't know, PAX shenanigans with us. I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to play much Highlander, but we could still just say hi, which would be a lot of fun. And Wheeler is going to be at Magic Fest Jersey. What are the dates for that?
January 24th, 25th, 26th.
Wheeler probably have more time to play Magic.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to do.
So Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening today. A reminder, this podcast is brought to you by you with your support over the Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. We'll talk to you soon and see you next time. Bye.